how are you preparing for this final triple header? Does this add pressure to know that the final rounds will be without a break?
I'm really preparing hard at the moment, in Tokyo, doing absolutely nothing. It's been really a busy week, eating a lot of ramen. Really hard.
Hello and welcome to the F1 Feeder Series podcast, your guide to keeping up to date on everything in the junior single-seater world. I'm your host, Jim Kimberley, and this week we're still without racing, but don't fear, we have two rookie drivers who are happy to talk all about their series and make it seem like you've had your fill of FRECA and Formula 3 even in the middle of August. First up, there's a driver who's having a pretty good season. They won their first race when they raced in Formula 3. Then they took a feature race win at the home of their junior team at the Red Bull Ring. Now they're enjoying a summer break at the top of the championship. It's been okay, really. But let's say hello to him. Hello, Isack Hadjar. How are you?
Hey, how are you guys? Yeah, I'm fine. Really happy to be here. So, yeah.
Really happy to have you here. And you're in Japan at the moment, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm in Tokyo, in Shibuya, exactly. I'm enjoying my time here for holidays, but still super exciting to come back to racing.
Yeah, well, I'm super excited to hear about Japan. Actually, I love traveling. I love racing, and I love traveling. So this seems perfect as well, because not only have we got somebody in Japan, we've got a driver who took a step up from Formula 4 to FRECA this year and has the support of a whole nation solely focused on him as he climbs the ladder towards Formula 1, getting comfortable in FRECA this year and ready for a final push after an even longer summer break than F3 has. Where are you and how are you, Joshua Duerksen?
Hey guys, first of all, thanks for the invitation. It's a pleasure for me to speak with you. Yeah, I'm right now in a holiday house in Paraguay, enjoying a bit of the summer break. So that's why I have this background. So yeah, really enjoying the time here.
And for the benefit of anybody who's listening, not watching, it's like a massive house with this wooden staircase behind him. The room seems to go on for miles. It looks absolutely lovely. It's a very international podcast, but we've got Asia. I'm in North America. We've got South America covered with Joshua. Let's go back to Europe for a second, because I'm delighted to have back on the podcast once again our FRECA editor, Percy Wolf. And what a podcast to join Percy, not only a FRECA driver for you, but a Frenchman leading the championship. Is this the peak of your career? Is it all downhill from here?
Well, I hope it's not the peak of my career, because even if it's really great to be in all of your company, I hope that things will get even bigger soon. And hello everyone, of course, and I'm really glad and excited to be here. And there was not much of racing action this weekend. Yeah, and I think I'm like just all of you. I'm just waiting for F1, F2, F3, FRECA, of course, to come back.
Yeah, it's a little different this time, isn't it? But yeah, you'll be peaking your career when you're interviewing a certain Isack Hadjar after a thrilling championship battle with Joshua Duerksen in the future, and he's won his 5th championship, right? That's going to be the peak. But let me get into it properly. We've got to do the usuals, a reminder to like, comment, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. We've got short videos which go out as well. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. You'll find some of our best bits. And if you are listening to the audio only version, please leave a review on the podcast platform you're using. You can leave ratings on Spotify and you can review us on Apple Podcasts. If you leave a review, we'll read it out in the podcast next time. If you don't want to leave a review, a rating is just as appreciated. Thank you to everybody who does spend the time to do that. It really helps us out. Now, I would usually start with the feeder series that you guys were racing in this weekend, but that's obviously not the case. We're deep into the summer break now. I love racing, but even I went to the beach last weekend and it felt like what life is like for a normal person. So before we get into the racing stuff, let's have a little catch up about August. I have to ask you first, Isack, because your location intrigues me the most. You're recording it, well, just after 1 a.m., just to reveal behind the curtain a little bit. And that's some real dedication. So thank you for that, because you are in Japan. Why? How long for? How's it going? And is the sushi amazing?
Yeah, so I'm in Japan since the 6th of August, and it's really a place I wanted to go back to. I went there like 3 years ago at Suzuka, but you know, it's a bit in the middle of nowhere, so I really wanted to go downtown, you know, in Tokyo. And yeah, I'm really enjoying my time. It's really a beautiful place. And yeah, I mean, I'm leaving in 2 days, so I'm still enjoying a lot. And yeah, I mean, 1 a.m. I know it's quite late, but I'm a committed guy, you know. So here I am.
It's just your dream to join the F1 Feeder Series podcast. I'm sure that's the only reason. But in all seriousness, though, it's just a vacation at the moment. Like, are you just traveling around Tokyo? Have you gone to Suzuka to do any of those sorts of racing tourist things? Or is it just, I'm switching my brain off from racing and
No, it's really
Japan?
like disconnect completely from racing and yeah, just enjoy. And yeah, I'm here for holidays, you know, I'm with my sister. We are just enjoying our time here. So yeah, nothing really about racing. Still, I saw some guys I raced 2 years ago in F4, who is now racing in Super Formula. So I just had a dinner with him, but that's it really.
Did it convince you to join Super Formula?
No, he didn't. I mean, I'd like to race in this championship. It's really like so close to Formula One, performance-wise, obviously. But yeah, I mean, F2 is you have 14 rounds. You travel a lot. You do a lot of racetracks, which you don't in Super Formula. But I would say that the car looks amazing to drive. But yeah, F2 is the main goal.
It's not a bad fallback plan, is it, if you went to go do Super Formula? But yeah, we're going to talk about the F2 being something on the route as well, because let's just keep our feet on the ground. Still F3 this year. There's still a few races to go. I mean, we might have to just message afterwards because I really want to hear all about Japan because it's such a fascinating country for me. But also I'm fascinated by the other country that's represented by the other driver here. You're back in Paraguay, Joshua. Does it feel like you're back home, or is it now got to the point where it's like a holiday for you? And similar sort of questions, how long have you been there? How long are you staying for? How often do you get back?
Yeah, it's kind of like a holidays version right now. Like before, yeah, it was more like coming home, but not right now. It's more like holidays, basically. Normally, I just come once. It would be this time when we have the summer break in Europe. So I have like 3 weeks, 1 month, depending on the championship and on the break. And yeah, right now I'm since 2 weeks ago in Paraguay, and I'm staying another 1 week, 2 weeks, and then I'm going back to Europe.
So you're properly switching off. And just for the benefit of everybody and myself, where's home usually now? You're in Europe, but whereabouts are you based?
Well, this year I'm based in Switzerland, in a city called Biel. I'm living with a family there, which are friends from my dad. So I'm living there for free, and they're very kind, and yeah, they're helping me to have a good home base there, and then travel from there on.
Yeah, it's every penny counts when you're in the feeder series. So saving on rent would be very, very helpful. And just final thing about Paraguay as well. What is it you're doing over there? You're visiting all the friends and family you don't usually get to see? Is it like the usual, I do this every year and I go and do 1, 2, 3, 4? Or are you just, again, switching off and having more of a vacation?
Well, it's not really like a vacation, actually. Sometimes even my time in Paraguay is more stressful than in Europe. because when I arrived to Paraguay, we have to do all the media stuff, interviews and some meetings, and the sponsors, they want also to do like events with me and photo shootings, and stuff. So it's from day one, it's just keep on working, But yeah, we try like to finish it all like in 2 or 3 weeks. So like that I have like 1 week, 2 weeks of real rest, right? Because like at least rest from media or from driving, but the training is always there. So it's like a half holidays, let's say.
I get what you're saying. And listen to that, Percy. He's having a go at us in the media for just having to speak to him. We're ruining his holiday. I can't believe it.
No.
I'm joking. No, hopefully this isn't too odorous. I can imagine there's a lot of people who want to speak to you, of course, generally when you're back home. They'll be making the most of it. But there's also a lovely summer going on in Europe where you guys aren't. Where you are, Percy, I thought I'd have to ask you as well. How is your weekends going? A little bit less busy for you?
It's less busy, yes, but I'm enjoying my holiday. But I've been to Belgium to see FRECA, to see French F4 and a little 24 hours GT race too. It was quite some fun. And then I had the quarterfinals and semifinals of the feed racing Formula 4 tournament at Manicourt. Then I had some interview. Then I had some, maybe I didn't really disconnect from racing, and I think it's because I don't want to, because it's all the interviews, etc. It's a good way to kill time before racing finally resumes at the end of the month. So yeah, I will try to disconnect next week. I'll go to a little island in the west of France near the Atlantic Ocean. Normally there won't be racing. I will try, but I can't guarantee anything.
You'll find out something like Kimi Räikkönen signs for Alpine, and then you'll be sucked right back in. You can't escape it. Listen, we'll talk about everyone's seasons in a second, but just to steer some more conversation towards actual racing that happened last weekend, we had some scary scenes in British F4 where a sausage curb sent Daniel Guinchard into the air, and recent guest Joseph Loke had to take avoiding action to avoid a possibly severe incident. We can never know what actually happens, but a car going in the air is never a good sign. I'm not sure if the drivers we've got here caught a clip, but it's not the first time sausage curbs are in the spotlight in 2022. Isack, I know you don't try and hit them, but I presume at some point in your career you've hit a sausage curb. How bad are they? And is it something that possibly needs to be looked at when cars are going in the air?
I really think we need to get rid of those. They are absolutely useless. Like, it's just so dangerous because when you hit it, basically you just for a few seconds, a few tenths of a second, your wheels are not touching the ground. So you just have no control of the car and you're just a passenger. And for me, this is just a joke to have these in 2022. Like, we just saw the crash with Peroni in Monza. Like, this is the best example, I think. And it's just useless. Or you put some grass or gravel, or I don't know, you just can't put those. They are so dangerous. Also, you saw the crash with Nissany and Hauger. Mm-hmm. It was like, without the halo, he would have been dead, obviously. So I think we really need to get rid of those. Plus, I don't know, you're driving, you're like alone on a quali lap, you get a snap of oversteer, I don't know, and you just end up on it and broke your chassis. I don't know, this is just, I don't know what they are thinking up there, but I think it's just a joke to have those on our tracks. It's just not safe at all.
Joshua, I saw you nodding along there. Is that something that you echo? Are they a safety concern for you?
Yeah, definitely. The sausage curbs, I don't think it's the safest way to race, especially because, like Isack said, you hit it first, it can hurt you. It can hurt the chassis. It breaks the chassis. You lose the control of the car. You can have a crash like Peroni had. And it's just not safe, it's very dangerous, and yeah, it causes many accidents, like we saw also in Silverstone, like Isaac said, with Hauge and Nisani. And honestly, I don't like him. It's really bad, you know. And yeah, I also would do that, like just put grass on it, or like white line, and then maybe like half a meter green stripe just of concrete, and then just gravel, you know, like in some corners in Spa they did this year. If I'm not wrong, like turn 9, for example, they have like the curb, a little green stripe which is concrete, and then just gravel. You know, for me that's more than enough. And if you go into the gravel, you anyway lose time. So that's enough of a penalty, you know. So I don't really think we need the sausage curbs in motorsport.
Yeah, there are very few people who are supporting them at this point. I'm really interested to see what happens. Another thing just on the summer, I need to highlight for another successive year, there's another Mercedes driver as a world champion. Stoffel Vandoorne took the unconventional route out of FIDE Series to grab a world champion title. Percy, I know you watched the race and you're not usually a Formula E viewer. How do you think Formula E has advanced? And is it good that we've now got Stoffel Vandoorne as a world champion, despite going not the usual route to find a world championship title?
I watched Formula E this weekend because there was no other racing action. So
that's an endorsement.
But it was quite okay. But I'm still quite meh about this series, because the problem for me is not electric cars, that there's no sound. I mean, it's a pity, but I mean, why not? We can still do good racing with electric cars. It's just the tracks that are all similar, that are all extremely narrow, and that if you try an overtake, you have a 50% of chance to crash. And yeah, it's quite unserious, like a championship. But there are some constructors in it. It has some international recognition. There are some extremely, really great drivers. I mean, there is Jean-Éric Vergne, there is Antonio Felix da Costa. There are drivers that have won so many races in endurance or in FIDE Series, because Stoffel Vandoorne, he has been one, if not the most dominant GP2 F2 champion that we got in 2015. Opinion, he deserved a better F1 career for sure. He should have got a second chance, because yeah, his FIDE Series career was amazing, really. So it's great for him to have this title, this world championship title. It's great for him. I don't think he can come back to F1, because it's too late. It's too late for him anyway. But it's great that he has a major title with him. And yeah, I hope he'll continue like that. Maybe maybe he can win the 24 Hours of Le Mans or these kind of things, maybe go to IndyCar. I don't know, but it shows really that he's an extremely great driver. And only for that, I'm glad that Formula E exists and gives some recognition to some drivers who have got a very short F1 career and should have deserved more. Like, yeah, in my opinion, Vergne and Vandoorne are the best examples for it. They became champion, and they should have deserved more.
Yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from. And when we had Will Buxton on the podcast, he was saying it's like an alternate reality championship almost of the drivers who didn't quite make it. And we know how many talented drivers don't make it. Is electric racing, in particular Formula E, something that either of you guys would consider if the Formula One route doesn't happen for whatever reason? And that's not to say you're not talented enough, but we've seen drivers like Piastri not make it even after winning Formula 2. Do you think you'd go into Formula E, or would it be WEC or sports cars for you guys? Let's go you first, Isaac.
I mean, if I don't make it to F1, at the moment I'm really like interested into IndyCar. It looks quite cool as a championship. And why not have a career in Japan? You know, Super Formula and Super GT 500. It looks quite good, but I'm not really interested into Formula E, simply because the cars are not like fast enough at the moment. Obviously, they are improving every year. It's still a really young championship, but yeah, but I have to say the level on the grid is really high. I mean, after F1, it's definitely the most like competitive championship, I would say. You look at the grid, this is really like there is pure talent on the grid. So yeah, that's the only like good thing about it, I would say.
Yeah, if the cars change, then it'll be a bigger consideration. But interesting notes, IndyCar seems really popular at the moment. A lot of drivers from the feeder series world looking at that as an option. I feel more seriously than they used to as well in the European feeder series. Is that something for you, Joshua? You'd maybe go down the America route rather than electric route?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would consider both options, Formula E and also IndyCar. I mean, I love motorsport in general, all categories. So for me, it's not a problem. Meanwhile, I'm driving, you know. So IndyCar, I would love it. Formula E also, but of course, the main goal is right now Formula One.
Yeah, that's a simple thing, and I know it's a weird question to ask. Like, what happens if you don't make it? It always seems so negative, but the reality is it's such a small funnel that do that. Are you considering things like this, or do you think you have to focus solely on Formula One and then consider what happens if not?
Of course, you should focus 100% on the goal, but of course, if something happens, you should maybe have like a plan B, you know, just to not lose time. Because if you're off racing 1 year, you know, you're like a bit off the radar already. So it's important always to keep going. So I would say, yeah, keep the focus, but just in case, have maybe a plan B option.
I had a question a bit to come back to the Halo, sausage Kerbs, all kind of stuff. I had a question to both of you, Joshua and Isack, because since Halo was introduced, we have the feeling to watch much more dramatic crash than before, than that Halo was introduced. It seems like Halo is now saving like one life per month, nearly. You both have driven with Halo and without Halo. Do you feel safer with it, and do you think this safety device can modify your driving in a more aggressive, and I would even say maybe in a more reckless way?
For me, not at all. Plus, I have to say one thing: when you drive, you don't even see the halo. You forget it completely. So I had a year in F4 without the halo, and now 2 years in F4 without the halo, and I have to say, it never changed my approach. But yeah, obviously, it seems that since we have it, we had like quite a few dramatic ones. Like, but I don't know. Maybe it's I have no clue, but I'm just grateful to have it. I know that if I have like a massive one, at least I'm sure my head will be there. You know. But yeah, it seems that the drivers are. I'm not in that case, but maybe they are changing their way of driving because they feel safer. So they are like taking more risks, or I don't know, but I'm not doing it anymore.
Just one before Joshua jumps in, because I think maybe from my perspective, there's actually just driving styles have changed as well. And I don't know if it's because of the halo, but I don't know. It seems that in this recent generation, when Verstappen and Leclerc kind of stepped up, that the battling seems to be a lot more intense, and not necessarily in a bad or good way. It seems like the battling seems to be different. Is that possibly something, Joshua? You think it's not the halo would change it? I'm putting words into your mouth a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think our driving style is more aggressive not because of the halo. I think maybe unconsciously it's because we see Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc, or Lewis Hamilton fighting so hard, you know, that we also want to drive like that. But honestly, with the halo, like, yeah, like as I said, I also didn't feel a difference while driving it. You just don't see it because you're just looking at the corners and braking points, you know, and other stuff. And yeah, for example, I had also like a scary moment once in the F4 without the halo. It was in Monza in my first year in F4, and where a car crashed into me in the behind me, so it made me spun, and the car just went over me. I literally just saw the car coming to my face. You know, it was pretty scary, but luckily nothing happened. Of course, with the halo, I would feel much safer in that moment. I wouldn't be even not that scared because I know there's the halo which would save me. I mean. Yeah, I mean, I think we feel a bit safer, but it's not like that like you realize it. It's just unconsciously that you know that there's the halo which will save you.
Let's talk, and you'll be excited for this, but let's talk a little bit about your championships. And with the current championship leader here with us, I suppose we'll have to talk about Formula 3 a little bit. I have to ask it simply here, Isack. How do you feel your season is going compared to how you thought it would go?
I mean, I had no clue how it was going to happen when I signed for F3. But after like the pre-season testing in Bahrain, I was like, okay, we have some serious pace here on both like long runs and short runs. So I expected something like at least like a top 10, top 7. Plus, when you looked at High-Tech's results the year before, it wasn't like exceptional. But I knew that they were fighting for titles with Yuri Vips and Liam Lawson. So I was like, okay, but for sure it's a team that they know what they're doing. Plus, if they have like a good driver, I think we can deliver some good races. Maybe I didn't expect the championship lead, that's for sure. But since we've been super consistent at the moment, except in Budapest, we had a difficult one. I think we've been able to really grab some really important points in every meeting. And here we are with the championship lead before the summer break. So yeah, really happy and excited to go back to racing, 3 weeks in a row on 3 really cool tracks. I think it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, you guys have some terrific tracks that you race at, and you did well in F4 and you did well in FRECA, but this season just seems to be a real step up in your performance. Is that from confidence in the car? Is it Red Bull's help? Is it doing the full Asian Championship before coming in? Is there something specific you can say that is the reason why this year is going so well?
I think it's really hard to pick one thing, that helped you so much to achieve this performance. But I would say, yeah, first to be in such an academy, such a junior program really helps. But I would say I'm really like in a super team, with High-Tech. I'm really building something really strong. Plus I have like really good relationship with everyone within the team, my teammates, my engineer. So I think plus the help with Red Bull, I feel like everything is really made for me to perform and deliver the best, when I'm racing. Whereas I felt like in recent years, I felt a bit more like lonely. And it was a bit more difficult. Whereas this year I'm really focusing on delivering on the right moment. So it feels really good.
All the little bits coming together, it sounds like really the epitome of that. And I know, Percy, you're delighted to see Isack, and sorry to say Isack, but also Victor Martins at the top of the championship from your previous episodes. With Theo Pourchaire too, you'll be finding it hard to have a favourite feeder series driver. I know you're impartial, despite the flag, which anybody listening rather than watching, there's a French flag proudly waving behind him. But how impressed in particular have you been from Isack's season this year, Percy?
Well, as I said in a previous podcast, Isack is the most impressive driver in F3 and maybe even in the whole feeder series this year. Because usually the F3 champion has always been a Prema driver. Theo Pourchaire was close to it with an ERT car. But yeah, Isack is fighting for the title with the team that finished 6th in the standings last year. Even if Vips finished 4th and Lawson 5th some years ago, now Isack is really in the battle for the title with drivers much more experienced that are in their second year, that are either in a Prema, either in an IRT. So that's already an incredible achievement, and congratulations. And I know he will want more. Drivers always want more, and he will want to win the title, especially Isack. I know he has the motivation, the strength, to win the title. But already all what he has done so far this year is already incredible. And yeah, now it's, in my opinion, it's only bonus. It's already such a great season so far, and yeah, if you can get the title, get it.
Yeah, it's one of those weird ones. I think that it's like you see Enzo Fittipaldi, for example, like no matter what he does for the rest of the championship, I feel you're the same, Isack, that it doesn't matter if you finish fifth or something at this point. You've had such a good season that your name has been really shone into the spotlight. But there's a question I have to ask, because we had it a few times from our F2 editor, Tyler Foster, who has asked Yuri Vips, Johnny Edgar, Jack Crawford in the past. And it's that every Red Bull Junior seems to have almost like a funny story with the over-the-top demands, let's call them, from a certain Dr. Helmut Marko, when he asks drivers to win 2 championships in a season, even if they're doing a partial season, or if they're going to get kicked out of the junior program if they don't win a race. Is there any funny story from you about an interesting interaction with Mr. Marko, Dr. Marko?
To be honest, I heard so many stories from drivers with him, but to be honest, I have zero like funny one or interesting one. It's just like, I mean, he's an employee, you know, and you perform, you stay, you don't, you get out. I think that's quite clear, but I never had
Okay,
like,
okay. I'm going to have to interrupt it, because you have to have something for us. Everyone listening, you think he's got to have something, but you say it's quite clear. How clear does he make that for you?
I mean, quite clear. I think it's almost like written in the contract that you have to perform. So. But yeah, no, I mean, I have like it's not a funny one, but I know I have a conversation with Helmut via, I mean, on my messages, you know. And when I win a race, he really like it. He says congrats, but every time I do something well, he says congrats, 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 always the same. So our chat, our discussion is really like congrats, thank you, congrats, thank you, congrats, thank you. And when I do like shit races like in Budapest, it's just like, what happened? Why didn't you perform? You were really fast the week before. What the fuck are you doing? And you know, I'm trying to say, you know, I'm lacking a bit of pace and stuff. Yeah, but last time it was good. What happened now? So yeah, it's but nothing big at the moment. I think I'm doing well, and he knows it, so everything is good.
But in all honesty, it sounds like he swears as much as people have heard that he swears, and even in text messages.
Huh? Excuse me?
He uses curse words as much as people say. When we had Yuri Vips on, he's like, "You're shit, and you're going to be out." Like that's the sort of thing, like really blunt. It sounds like the same sort of thing.
I have to say he never said any bad words in front of me.
Okay,
absolutely zero.
Just text them to you instead, saying, "Why are you shit this weekend?"
No, I said, "Why are you shit? Why are you fucking slow?" Was like kind of. No, he doesn't swear a lot, I have to say.
Okay, I'll let you off with that, Isack. I think we had a little bit out of that. So I'm trying to form a picture of what Dr. Marko is like, but I find him such a fascinating character.
He's better than what you guys think. He's less like scary. You can have a laugh with him, you know. Like it's not like this every time.
He's less scary when you lead the championship, I think.
Let's see when I will be like P10. I will keep you guys updated. But, yeah.
Right, let's turn our attention a little bit to FRECA as well, because obviously you're here, Joshua, and I have to ask the same question I asked Isack. How do you feel your season is going compared to how you thought it would go?
Yeah, well, it's a bit of a mix. I thought it would go a bit better. I definitely like have the pace to be easy top 10 every race. It's just we're just struggling sometimes with quali pace or just to get it together. Some bad luck also with red flags and some electrical issues, which of course then ruins a bit the whole weekend. But the pace is there. That's definitely there. So that's a positive. I'm keeping for myself and just keep working on getting the qualifying right and on the moment where it matters. So just keep working on it to be there where we should be, because we know we have easy the pace to be top 10 every race.
You see, so often with FRECA, it's not like what you end up with Formula 3 and Formula 2, I feel, that the rookies just do struggle a lot more, and you're not really going to see them fighting for championships as often. I know it's not always, but often as you see in the other ones. Did you feel when you made that step up that you were expecting it to be a really difficult season, and it's not possibly as difficult as you first worried, if you worried at all?
I mean, of course, it's going to be difficult because the championship is also very competitive. It's never going to be easy, of course. But yeah, like the step from F4 to the F3 regional, it's like the driving style is pretty much different, and you just have to get used to it. It's like a bigger car, much more weight, more downforce, more power, and just the driving style is totally different. The behavior of the car is also different. The tire wear is different. In F4, you could do like 5, 6, 7 push laps in a row and the tire would be fine. In the regional, you just do 1, 2 laps and then the rears are gone, So that's, of course, massive difference, which a driver has to adapt as quickly as possible, So maybe that's why the rookies on the first year are not maybe as strong as in the FIA F3 or FIA F2.
I have to just point out again, for the benefit of anybody listening, not watching, that while Joshua was speaking, it's like Isack was doing some neck exercises of how many nods there were there. Like, just everything you were saying was like, that sounds so familiar. It's such a fascinating thing, because I've said it in the podcast before. We look at it and it's like, you're in a single-seater car, then you're in a single-seater car, go and race. But the differences you guys always have, like the intricacies between tire wear, between the weight and everything, it sounds such a dramatic step up. And you had, 3 years in F4. How does this season and this car compare?
Yeah, I mean, it's totally different, the driving side. In F4, it's at least when I was driving, it was just focused on rotation, and just survive with the oversteer, just get a rotation done and survive with it, and then the regional is a bit more different. You can do like more trailer brake, and F4 is more like a table braking. You just slam the brake and then just go off, basically. In the regional, yeah, you have to be a bit more careful, you can carry a bit more of entry speed, the car is going to handle it, and so like the driving style is just different, and the driver has to get used to it.
It's honestly, it's such a thing I'd love to be able to experience, but you guys describe it so well, and I love hearing, like, it's almost when you drivers talk about driving, they really come alive with the intricacies, and when you have 2 drivers on the podcast, that's why I love doing what I do. But talking to somebody who's not a driver, but somebody who watches a lot of the driving, Percy, you've obviously watched all the races and the testing even. What's your take on FRECA this year, the rookies, and of course, Mr. Duerksen's season so far?
Yeah, as usual, I would say the rookies are quite struggling in FRECA, and I think for me, one of the main problems is that, as I said also in one of the previous episodes, the rookies are not in the main teams like Prema, like ART. So already they are maybe a little behind in terms of performance because of their team, and the problem of having like 55, even 40 cars per weekend. The problem is that there are only still 10 places that award points. And it's extremely unfair, because you can do some amazing weekends. You can start from, sometimes from the last place on the grid, you can do tons and tons of moves and finish like P12. You have overtaken 25 drivers. It's amazing. You have done the race of your life. You will have 0 points. And yeah, it's really unfair, and because there are always the Beganovic, Mini, Aaron, David, Avercourt, Bortoleto, Boya, drivers like that will always be in the top 6, in the top 7, and after you can grab maybe 2 points there, 1 point there, and that's why most of the rookies are really far in the championship, and that's a lot of. for me, each point is must feel like a victory when you are in a midfield team, even more when you are with a back marker team, a team that finished last in the standings and all that. It must be a really great achievement, but it's totally unnoticed because everybody focus, and it's quite natural. Everybody focus their attention on the lead, and they don't talk about the rookie drivers that are really impressive, because there are some drivers like Fornaroli, like Tramnitz, like Mektunif, who did some really, really great performances this year, like Duerksen, of course, especially at the start of the season. But yeah, for me, there should be a separate rookie standings. It would be maybe more fair. It would be more, and it would give more attention on this, on all these drivers, because there are like 20 drivers and 20 rookie drivers. So yeah, maybe it should be something to help rookie drivers to shine a bit more. But yeah, it's always hard for rookies in FRECA, except for, of course, Isack Hadjar last year, and a bit Gabriel Emini too, we have to say. But yeah, it's always hard, and I guess you will need a second year in FRECA, and hopefully now you will be able next year, thanks to this year's experience, to fight for the podiums, for the wins, maybe for the title. So yeah, it's a hard learning year, but every driver has to go through this to shine the year later.
Well, I hope, Percy, some of that is heard by people who aren't necessarily so much following FRECA, because you're totally right in what you say. And again, anybody listening, a lot of nods from the two drivers who have raced in FRECA and know exactly what it's like. I feel almost, so many people look on Wikipedia and it's like, what are the results? And it's just like purple, 17, 12, and so on. But it never really tells the full story. And it's like, oh, if anybody out there has ability to do something more where you can have like hover over the number and say some notes for each driver, they overtook 18 cars, they span off, but then recovered 12 positions. I really feel like that's a service that should exist in this feeder series as well, because there's so much that's just impossible.
It's also the problem of feeder series like FRECA that are not in support of F1, because the F1 directors, the F1 the F1 team managers, they will watch Formula 2, they will watch Formula 3 because it's on the race weekends. So I mean, it's much easier to watch F2 and F3 than FRECA, than Italian F4, than etc. And I think I would say I always use the example of Isack Hadjar, because it's how he got noticed.
Do well at Monaco and don't worry about the rest of the season, and that's the way to do it.
Because the second meeting of the season, of the FRECA season last year, was in support of the Spanish Grand Prix. Sergio Perez saw that Isack Hadjar was the only one in the field overtaking people, so it was quite impressive. And the weekend after, it was Monaco, once again in support of the F1 weekend, and there, Isack did crushed everybody, and Helmut Marko signed him just after. I don't think if you had done this kind of performances at the Red Bull Ring in October, or at the Mugello in November, I don't think these performances would have made you step up to Red Bull, at least directly, maybe after the season, I don't know. But yeah, that's why it's a bit of a pity, and the standings don't always show the true reality, the true potential of each driver.
I'm going to make a short out of this, Percy, and say this is Percy Wolf's bid to become the new Bruno Michel, because well said, mate, well said. Listen, that's enough questions from our side, because the F1 Feeder Series podcast is for you, viewers and listeners. We're going to move on to the part of the podcast where you have your say with hashtag AskF1FS. Loads of questions as ever, and we've gone long as we tend to do. So sorry for not getting through all of them, but please keep sending your questions in. We love reading every single one of them. If this is your first time watching or listening, you can get involved by using the hashtag AskF1FS on Twitter, joining our Discord and using the podcast questions channel, or simply commenting on our YouTube videos and asking whatever it is that's on your mind. This first question comes from Sam, and they want to know, how does it feel to represent a nation with little motorsport representation? Does it help as most sponsors go to you, Joshua, or does it not help because there aren't so many people watching?
Well, definitely it's very special, you know, like to be right now the only Paraguayan driver to race in Europe, you know, and to have, for example, also the delivery of my car with the Paraguayan flag, you know, representing my country. It feels very special, you know, to feel the support of the people. It's just amazing. It's incredible the support I get. Of course, sadly, it's not like the most popular sport in Paraguay. And I have my sponsors that they're helping me, of course. I'm very grateful with them. But sadly, motorsport is too expensive, you know, so it doesn't cover the whole budget. Mm-hmm. But the support is there, and it's just amazing to represent Paraguay and drive in these tracks which I'm driving this year.
I just ask this on the budget side because I'm fascinated by it. I know everyone's got such a personal thing, but are you finding that the attention from sponsors now you've made the step up to FRECA has grown at all this year compared to your previous seasons?
Yeah, a bit. The sponsors are giving a bit more of support than the last years, than the previous years, because of course I'm now in the Formula 3. You know, it's a bigger championship. You know, and it's a higher level. You know, so of course the support is also more from their side.
But more meaning finding new sponsors as well. Is that something you've been able to try and hook in more people and possibly around Europe too? Yeah,
definitely. Getting some new sponsors. There are always some interested companies, you know, which wants to support. Sometimes we just tell them the budget, you know, and then they just get scared and don't call back, you know. So it's the sponsors I have, they are really faithful, and that's why we're just very grateful with them to be on this road with me, you know, to get into F1 and support me on the way.
Terrific. Percy, next up.
Okay. So there's a question from Remy Feuillade to Isack. How are you preparing for this final triple header? Does this add pressure to know that the final rounds will be without a break?
So yeah, I'm really preparing hard at the moment, you know, in Tokyo, doing absolutely nothing. Yeah, it's been really a busy week, you know. Yeah, eating a lot of ramen. So yeah, really hard. But now more seriously, I'm going back to work since once I get home with the team. I'm going to the UK to prepare it. It's I mean, a triple header. I already did one, you know, in Asia. Yeah, I had like 5 weeks in a row. But I mean, it will be much more intense, as you know. It's the proper championship I'm racing at, and I'm fighting for the title. So I've never experienced something like that. I never took the lead of a championship in any category. So it's going to be I don't know what to expect, but for sure I'm going to give it all, and we'll see what happens.
With the double headers that you've done, do you feel like that your body does recover in time? Because, you know, if I even do full length sim race sort of thing, I'm exhausted, like, and I've got no G-forces or anything. Do you guys feel like if you do one race and then you have another round, that after the second round, your body does need that extra time to recover, or is the weekdays enough?
To be honest, what's the most difficult is all the travels, you know. So yeah, 3 different countries. I think it's going to hurt a bit. It's not really like the racing itself that kills you, you know. It's more the work that goes alongside. So yeah, I think it's going to be quite tough. But I have to say, like, the 5 weeks in Asia, they were really painful. Plus the regional car physically is quite tough. And like 5 weeks in a row, plus a lot of free practice running, was really complicated. But I think it's going to be okay physically. Like, per weekend, you're doing like 5 sessions, like free practice, quali, and 2 races. No, 4 sessions. So not so much mileage, I have to say, per weekend. So it's not so. I know Zandvoort is a killer. It's the most difficult one, with all the banked corners. But yeah, let's see.
I can't wait. Like, I'm dreading it from a covering perspective, just how busy it's going to be, let alone what you guys have to do. But I really can't wait for just this big rush of racing when Formula One comes back with you guys in support. But let's go on this other question again for you, Isack, from Idris Mualdi. You are from Algerian descent. Does that make you proud to have another country rooting for you as well?
Yeah, it's great. Like, I have my parents; they are both they were born in Algeria, so it's I'm quite proud to have like even more people supporting me, rooting for me, with all the French people. So yeah, it's quite a special feeling,
Double the support. Question from you, Percy.
We have a question from AS19 Alex. What is better for a driver's development? Because Joshua, you have raced all your F4 seasons with Milk Motorsport, while Isack, you competed with Evans GP in Asian F3, you competed with R-Race in FRECA, now with iTech in Formula 3. So what is the best? To stay with one team for a number of years, or to switch from team to teams each season?
Well, it depends. It depends on many things. It depends on how the relationship is going inside the team. If you feel comfortable with the team, if there's a good environment or not. So it depends basically on that. If you feel very good and the team is very good, I would say definitely stay another year with them, and then just try to improve the little things and then get a good season. But if you're in a team and the relationship is not going pretty well, or you don't feel very comfortable, then yes, I think it would be better just to look for another team where you feel also better with the team and you can perform better.
Isack, you were bringing up how much you're feeling valued at high-tech. Is that something you not necessarily didn't feel before? Because I'm not going to get you to say something bad about your old teams, but you feel that the different environments change a lot?
Yeah, I mean, like, if I had to stay like 5 more years with iTech, I think I would. It's really a team I love at the moment. The relationship I have with them is amazing. It feels like a second family, so it feels great to race with them, to work with them. So I think it's really important once you have this relationship to continue and to grow and go further. And also, I think it's also really good as a young driver to go to different team, to be a bit uncomfortable, because I think in F1 you're never really like in a comfortable zone. Like, if you're not Max Verstappen, you will never be relaxed, or you will always have pressure, and you will always fight with different sort of things. So I think it's good to have experienced both. I did like French F4, where there was like, let's say, a single team for every drivers, and then Evans GP, iTech, R-Race. So I think it's good to have experienced a bit of everything before going to the higher steps.
Well, on your route, who knows? It might only be 2 teams you ever go to, so we'll see how that goes in the future. This is a question for both of you, from Johnny O'Bearman. And just a bit of background, this is somebody who works in feeder series, but is like an anonymous superhero. We don't know who they are. So your answers are going to possibly create ripples in the paddock here, because they want to know, who is your favorite race engineer and why is he or she the best? And also, what trades must a race engineer have for you to unlock your ultimate pace? And got all the questions here. What's a no-go for a race engineer? So let's go it first. Your favorite race engineer. Difficult question. I'm sorry, guys, but I've got to ask what people ask. Joshua.
Oh, I hope just my engineers don't watch this podcast right now. No, I mean, I didn't have many engineers. I had only 2 in the moment, one in F4, and then right now with Arden. I mean, both are very good, of course. I know better my engineer from F4 because I was 3 years with him. I could share more with my engineer from Arden. I'm just half a season right now, so I just don't really know. You know, in the relationship side, of course, with the F4 engineer, I have a bit more of a background in the relationship than in the Arden one, and yeah, but both are very good. And what was the other question?
Yeah, so the one other thing was about what trades must a race engineer, what expertise, I guess, must they have for you to unlock your ultimate pace?
Yeah, I mean, of course, a lot of experience in different categories, different cars, different tracks, conditions. I mean, the more information they have, the better it's going to be for us, of course. And of course, they have to be also like tough to push you forward, you know, and not just to be like very smooth with you. Like they need to push you also, so you can unlock this extra 1/10 you maybe wouldn't find if they wouldn't push you, you know. So
really like a third hand to help you go through the races. And Isack, same question to you. Favorite? I mean, you've had a few now, so this is a real tough question.
No, it's not.
Oh,
definitely my engineer at High Tech, definitely. My race engineer. He engineered like proper drivers like Bottas, Charles Leclerc. In GP3 when he won with him, he did Ocon in GP3. So he has like quite a good amount of experience, and he's really like pushing me like crazy at the moment. He's never been happy with my quali performances. Even in Red Bull Ring, I had the pole, but he saw a few mistakes on a few area, and he's never happy. So yeah, he's really pushing me a lot. Plus all the experience he has, he can always, like Joshua said, he makes you find those extra 10th, you know, that you need. So yeah, he's really good, and I'm learning every day with him.
Oh, fantastic answer. Just on your side, to answer the final bit of that question, what's a no-go for a race engineer? Is there anything that they shouldn't do?
Isack, I don't know. So
Joshua washes his hands of this.
No go. I never had a bad experience with any engineers, so
we'll come back to answer this when something
bad happens. I know. When because usually engineers, they are not racing drivers, you know. So sometimes when you're sure about something because it's proper racing, like driving, and they are still insisting and say no, I'm right, and you're really fighting with him, and he's like never stepping out, you know, and say, yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. You know what you're doing, or I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, they need some sort of safe word to say, no, this is one when I have to win on this argument, just because you are the person in the cockpit. Percy, you want to grab this next one as well?
Yeah, this one is for Joshua, and it comes from Martu. Who's been your biggest support in your career, and what do you envision for the future of motorsport in Paraguay? Then I'm going to say something in Spanish, but my Spanish is terrible because I did German at school. Saludos desde Ciudad del Este.
Ah, nice. You did it say right. You did it say right. Well, biggest supporter, of course, my family. They're always behind me every second, every day. You know, supporting me from day one. And I think that's just really, really important to get the support of the family, because if not, the way, of course, it's gonna be lots more difficult, you know. So the family was always there.
I love hearing the family stories because people just think it's you by yourself, but when you're a teenager taking on the world, there's a lot of stuff when you have to get driven to the airport, even like the most basic things, and it's a big family excursion. I would love to push more, but there's a lot of questions, in particular on your side as well, that we're going to have to go through, Joshua. But this one's for Isack, and this is from Vishred via Discord. Who do you know or best get along with in the Red Bull Academy? And you've already asked this, but how have you liked working with Helmut?
I mean, I think I get along quite well with Jack. First because he's an F3, and yeah, I like the guy. You know, he's good, but obviously he's my rival in the championship. So yeah, it's a bit of a shame that I have to beat him on track. But yeah, I mean, I get along quite well with him. He's a good guy. So yeah, Jack.
And just, you mentioned earlier, but just in case they didn't hear the earlier answer, how do you like working with Helmut Marko?
I don't work with directly with him. You know, I have we have the guy who is really like leading the academy is a French engineer, the ex chief engineer, so Guillaume Roquelin. He was engineering Vettel when he won all his world titles, so he knows a bit about motorsports, you know. So he's the one I'm working with directly on the technical side. So yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. Final one from you here, the Percy.
It comes from CM Path 16, and it's for both of you. What was the best food you have ever had during a race weekend?
Joshua, do you want to take this one first? Your best food?
Oh,
only on a race weekend. You can't say best food ever on a race weekend.
Doesn't count.
Is it inside the track or outside? Like
it's unspecified. I mean, you decide the parameters of this, mate. Wherever.
What I remember is once, like this year when we raced in Monaco with the F1 together, we stayed in a hotel, in a 2-star hotel, in France, and 20 meters away there was a restaurant which was very good. I just really liked it. They brought us some pasta with bolognese sauce, which was very good, and then also like the main dish, no, like the second plate was steak of beef with mushroom sauce, and it was just very good. You know, that's the one I have in my memory right now. Probably I have eaten also another very good food, but that's the one I have in memory right now.
It's not a good thing to talk about this at 7 p.m. here because
yeah, the same for me. It's 1 p.m. I'm pretty hungry also.
Isack, are you gonna have a little bedtime snack? Do you have anything in mind from your times?
Definitely it was in Italy. Obviously the best country to eat. You know. So yeah, I think it was this year in Imola. I was really in the city. I had like an apartment, and there was 2 close restaurants, like two really close restaurants near to me, and it looked like it was quite bad from the outside, but when you enter it, it's quite tiny, but the food is just like mind-blowing. Just for pasta, like you think, yeah, this is pasta, it can't be like amazing, but it really was amazing. So I don't exactly remember what I was eating, but it was quite nice. And also I have a memory from Mugello last year. I went to it with Gabriele Mini, so Fiorentina steak, and it was perfect.
Steak and pasta. That's what racing drivers are made of, it sounds like, from the two of you. We're obviously running long as ever, but the final is like a flurry of questions here that we had via Instagram mainly for you, Joshua. And this is a part where we've already had Percy embarrass himself with some Spanish, so it's my turn to go through these ones. And you have to do a little bit of an explanation because there's some bits of food and also a bit of a translation. So the first one is from Yanni Orabalis 96. Chipaguasu o sopa? Sopa.
Sopa paraguaya.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 2 traditional dishes from Paraguay, some 2 traditional foods. And it's just a debate in Paraguay because they're pretty similar made. You know, they look similar, but one has some ingredients which the other hasn't. and both are very good, and especially to have it with some steak, it's
What
just
is it
perfect.
though?
Yeah, I don't know how to explain it. It's very, it's like it's not a cake.
Okay.
It's let's say it looks like a cake, but it's not sweet. It's
like a bread savory sort of thing.
Yeah, some sort of that, and it's just delicious. I don't know how to explain it. And yeah, I think from both, I would prefer chipaguasu.
Chipaguasu, there you go. This one is also Spanish, but I've got a general idea of the translation. ¿Quién es tu ídolo en la F1? So, idol in Formula One, I presume?
Exactly, you did it right. Well, I have so many, but I mainly look to Charles Leclerc. I just really liked him from before he was in F1 already. And I don't know, I just like him, and even better because I've got a picture with him in Hockenheim 2019 when we were with, and when we as F4 we were in the same race weekend than them, and yeah, it was just like my very first picture with a Formula One driver, so it was like it's very special. Yeah, I'm supporting Charles.
You always remember your first time, but that's difficult to support Charles this year. That's we won't go into it. I don't want to break your heart anymore. This one is from Lisa Lescano. I think it's a football question for a quick Google. Cerro or Olympia?
Oh, okay.
Is it football? Are they football teams?
Yeah, it is. It's like one of the best football teams in Paraguay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a tricky question. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really watch a lot of football anymore because I was in a motorsport. Before I was playing football, but right now not anymore. So I'm not really on time with everything what's happening on football. But yeah, maybe, I don't know, Olympia, I think.
Just angered half of the country, I bet, with that answer.
Yeah, they're going to be angry with me right now, but it is what it is.
And then I think it's another question tied to the chipper, but this was from Cristiancito Achucaro. Chipper o Mbeju, Mbeju. How do I pronounce it and what is it?
You pronounce it Mbeju.
Mbeju.
Mbeju. It's also a traditional food in Paraguay, which is also very good. And which was the other one? Mbeju and?
It's just chipper. I don't know if it's the same as chipaguasu or just chipper.
No, chipper is another.
Of course.
Between chip and Mbeju, I think I would prefer Mbeju. It's like again, difficult to describe, but it just has a lot of cheese and it's very good.
Okay. Well, I love this sort of stuff. I have to go back. Just final thing for you as well, Isaac. This is a question, but you're in Japan and there's some terrific food there as well. This is the F1 Feeder Series podcast, so we have to talk a bit about food sometimes. How have you found eating in Japan? You said ramen earlier. Have you gone for sushi or anything particular that you wouldn't get anywhere else?
Yeah, it was my first time eating Wagyu beef, so Kobe beef.
Okay,
It was so soft. I could cut the meat with my sticks,
Mm-hmm.
It was just unbelievable compared to the meat you find everywhere. So it was just on another level. Yeah, tofu also is really good here. Ramen, rice. I mean, everything is just too good. So I was thinking about staying here for a while, but I have to go back to racing, so it's a shame.
Dr. Marko, please get me a super formula seat just so I can eat better. That's what it sounds like it's going to be. Tell you what, the tofu is so overlooked. A lot of people don't consider it. When it's cooked right, it's terrific. It sounds like the Japanese are doing it perfect.
Hey, terrific. So good.
Can I have one final question for Isack? It's more like a fun question because I asked myself a question when I went to Manicure 3 months ago. I saw somebody selling one of a replica of your helmets, and on your helmet, I saw there were tons of mathematical formulas written on it. There was Schrödinger, there is Einstein. Where does it come from? From why? Why?
Yes, simply because like my dad is a quantum physicist, so
wow.
he's into physics. So I think it was quite cool to really put it on my helmet. Obviously, he chose the formula, but it's really like we're into a quite sophisticated sport, using a lot of technology, and it's really the laws that rules this world, and it's because of them that we are getting to drive these cars. So I think it's quite cool.
That's awesome. I really like that. Good question, Percy. One nice one to round it off. I'm sorry anybody who's listened for longer than they expected to, but I love getting these answers. And if you talk about food or racing with racing drivers, they enjoy it. There's so much good eats out there. But that's all the time we have this week. Thank you for watching and listening, everybody. If you'd like to have your question asked on a future episode, use the hashtag AskF1FS on Twitter. Drop any questions below if you're watching on YouTube, or let us know what questions you have on your mind on Discord. Look for the Podcast Questions channel. If you are watching on YouTube, dropping a like on the video, leaving a comment, and subscribing to the channel all really helps us out. And if you are listening, leaving a review on the podcast platform you're listening on is greatly appreciated. Finally, check out f1feederseries.com for more feeder series insights. Follow F1 Feeder Series 1, F1FS Americas, and F1FS Live on Twitter. You can find the links to all of those, plus the social accounts for myself and everyone else on the podcast in the YouTube description or the podcast show notes. Until next time, we have been the F1 Feeder Series podcast. Goodbye.